It all started with a simple mistake. My name is Emily Carter, a 29-year-old marketing coordinator from Denver, Colorado. I've always been careful, organized, and maybe a little too structured for my own good. My life revolved around work, my small apartment, and the occasional coffee date with my best friend, Sophie. But one small mix-up one rainy Friday evening changed everything. That night, I had just moved into a new apartment complex after a long week of work. My new job had demanded late hours, and I was exhausted. The elevator was slow, the hallway dimly lit, and all I could think about was a warm shower in my bed. I fumbled through my purse, juggling my phone, my umbrella, and the takeout I'd picked up. My key slid into the door, or at least I thought it did. The door clicked open, and I stepped inside, dripping wet and muttering about the weather. I kicked off my shoes, set my bag down, and headed straight toward the kitchen to find a towel. Only, something felt off. The faint smell of cologne hung in the air. A pair of men's sneakers sat by the entryway. And when I turned the corner, I froze. A man stood there, holding a mug of coffee, eyes wide with confusion. Can I help you?" he asked, his tone somewhere between surprise and amusement. My heart nearly stopped. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I must've. Oh no, this isn't," I stammered. He chuckled softly, setting his mug down. "You must be new here. Apartment 308. 307, I managed to say, cheeks burning. He smiled, extending his hand. "I'm Ethan, your next door neighbor. Don't worry, happens more than you think. The doors all look the same here." I shook his hand, laughing nervously. His grip was warm, steady, and oddly reassuring. That small, embarrassing moment became the start of something I never expected, a friendship that grew quietly, beautifully, and changed both our lives. The next morning, I found a note taped to my door. "Greater than, to my neighbor who broke in last night, welcome to the building. Coffee on me next time, Ethan." I smiled for the first time in days. We started meeting occasionally, first for coffee, then for walks in the park. Ethan was an architect, quiet but thoughtful, with a dry sense of humor that could turn my worst day around. He'd just moved back from Seattle, trying to rebuild his life after a long relationship that ended badly. I'd been single for over 2 years, choosing to focus on my career instead of heartbreak. But something about Ethan felt different. There was no rush, no pretense. We talked about everything: favorite movies, childhood memories, our fears about the future. Sometimes we'd sit on the rooftop terrace, watching the Denver skyline shimmer under the night sky. One evening, after a long week, he showed up at my door with 2 cups of coffee and said, "You look like you need this." I laughed, realizing how easily he could read me. We watched the rain fall from my balcony, both quiet for a while. "I've been thinking," he said softly. "Funny how one wrong door can lead you to the right person." My heart skipped. I looked at him, unsure what to say. But his eyes said enough. They were calm, sincere, full of warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. Over the months, our friendship deepened. We cooked together, helped each other with errands, and celebrated small wins, like me finally getting promoted or him finishing a project that had kept him up for weeks. One winter evening, the power went out in the entire building. The hallways were dark, and the only light came from the candles Ethan found in his kitchen drawer. We sat on the floor, wrapped in blankets, telling stories. At one point, I looked up and said, "You know, this would make a great story someday." The night the power went out. He laughed. Or maybe, how I fell for the girl who opened the wrong door. My cheeks warmed, and I looked down, smiling. Time passed, and what started as friendship turned into something deeper, though still slow, still gentle. Ethan never rushed anything. He'd text to make sure I got home safe, or drop by with soup when I was sick. He respected boundaries, valued honesty, and made me feel like I mattered. One spring afternoon, he invited me to the park. The cherry blossoms were in full bloom. He brought a picnic basket and that same mug from the night I accidentally walked into his apartment. "I thought I'd return this," he said with a grin. I laughed, remembering that night vividly. "Pretty sure it was your mug." "Maybe," he said, looking at me with that familiar warmth, "but I figured it could be ours now." It was simple, sweet, and perfect. We started dating soon after. It wasn't a fairy tale. We had our challenges, insecurities, and different schedules. But we learned to communicate, to forgive, and to support each other. I'd never known a love so patient, so kind. A year later, Ethan proposed in the same hallway where we'd first met, right between apartments 307 and 308. He got down on one knee and said, "You opened the wrong door, but it led us right." I said yes, tears in my eyes, laughter spilling through the hallway. Looking back now, it amazes me how life can twist and turn in the most unexpected ways. A tired Friday night, a wrong key, and a mistaken doorway, that's all it took to change everything. And if I've learned anything, it's that sometimes, the most beautiful moments come from the accidents we never plan. So, to anyone who's ever made a mistake, maybe it wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe it was life leading you exactly where you were meant to be.